In this video clip, I'm going to be showing you how to create a 3D graph onto a 3D base map. So the first place we're going to start with is by going into our Content tab to find the layer of data that we created in the first video that you should have watched. And we are looking for this layer of data here. So it's ArcGIS demo data FAD. This is the map, the 2D map that I created earlier. So again, what we're going to do here is we are going to click on our layer of data and just let that load up. And so this time, instead of clicking open in map viewer, I'm going to click open in scene viewer. And we'll just let this load up. Okay, so as before, with the 2D map, we can see it's very similar. We can see we've got the red dots, which is showing us where all our data has been collected from. Now, at the moment, it doesn't look like it's kind of going to be 3D, but obviously there's slight kind of differences in the layout of this particular part of ArcGIS. You can see that obviously we have our kind of zoom in and zoom in out function, but with this one, because we're working on 3D now, we've also got this function here, which allows you to twizzle the map. And you can start to see that we have got a 3D map as we kind of start to kind of move around. We can see kind of the shape of the landscape here. A bit more on that later. So we should just return it back to kind of normal for the time being, and we can have another look at that later on once we've actually got our graph on here. So just like before, we need to just isolate the piece of data that we want to present in this particular map. So we clicked on our layer of data just like we did before, so just click on anywhere in the text. And this box will then open. You can see it says 1, choose the main attribute to visualize, and basically this is kind of allowing us to identify or isolate which piece of data we want to present. So if we just click on noise pollution for this one, and if you just let that process for a moment, you'll then be given some other options of how you want to present that data. And so we're going to present a 3D graph. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the 3D count and amount section here. And what you'll be able to tell, so it doesn't look like it's kind of done anything special, but if we click on our twizzle button, we can start to see that that's presenting these bars in a kind of 3D fashion. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of tweak this a little bit more just to kind of clear things up. So we can click on the options box here. And what that will allow you to start doing, just like we did with the proportion located symbols in that 2D map that I showed you how to create earlier, we can change the color if we want to. If you want to kind of change the color in relation to the base map that you have chosen. And we can also, just like with the proportion located symbols, just to kind of declutter the data, what we can do is we can play around with the size of the bars that we're looking at here. So at the moment they're quite close and they're quite clustered, and it's very difficult to kind of see what part of Cheltenham they're representing. So what we can do is we can just kind of play around with this number here. So if I just change it to kind of 150, you can see it just kind of makes the kind of the bars slightly smaller. And it gives you kind of a bit more of a precise location for the data that we are looking at here. And I'm just going to kind of change them a little bit more. And it just kind of helps to kind of declutter the data for this as well. What I also recommend you do is also click on the label button just at the bottom here. And if we now scroll down, we can see what it does. It just brings up like the actual names of the individuals that collected that piece of data. And so what we can do to kind of make this much more useful information is we can click on this drop down menu, and we want to kind of the actual figure or bit of data to be displayed above each of the bars. So we can see now what we've got is we've got the bar representing the data, but also just to confirm what the actual piece of data is, we can see they've got the figure on top of it there. And again, that just makes it easier for us to then quote the data when we're writing up our analysis. You can see with the base map that I've got at the minute, it's obviously quite light, and you can see all the numbers are coloured white at the moment, but we can change that colour. So you can see in this drop down menu here, we can change from light to dark. And again, that just kind of makes it easier to see those figures as well, especially with these kind of smaller bars, which are kind of a lighter colour. Again, that might be something you want to address with the colour of the bars that you're using. So we can adjust that. The other thing we might want to do is we might also, let's just return back to what we're looking at. So just change that again. We'll add the labels back. And then what we're going to do next is I'm just going to kind of play around with the base map. So if you want to change the base map that you're using, you don't have to use the one that's like just the default one. You've got kind of a range of base maps that you might want to use to help improve your data presentation. So what we can do is we could use satellite imagery with labels, which is this one here. And this might help to improve the qualitative aspect of this data presentation. So again, it might just kind of help you to kind of explain kind of why maybe there's kind of more noise pollution in one area, or it might be if you're doing a coastal investigation, how a piece of coastal management is influencing the sediment size or sediment distribution along a coastline. But now that we've changed the kind of base map, we can see the colours are standing out better in the bars, but this time now we can see the numbers, the labels on top of the bars aren't as clear. So again, we can just go back to our layer data. We can click on our layer and we go back to that options box. We just scroll down and we can go to the colour of our labels, and we can then put it back to being kind of white, and we can see that's much more clear now. So it's about kind of playing around and tweaking things in order to make sure that your data presentation is absolutely clear. So the other thing you may want to kind of try out is, again, we go back to kind of the base map. We may want to use the OpenStreetMap data. 3D one is probably best, but you probably want to see, I think there's one with labels. We'll try this one here. And we'll just let this one load up. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to load up. And you'll see that what we've got now is we've actually got the kind of 3D outline of the buildings. It's also got in kind of the trees that we find around some of the Cheltenham areas, especially around some of the parks. And so this kind of becomes clearer as we start to kind of change the perspective of our view here. So what we've now got is we've got kind of a 3D map, not just of the graph, but also the landscape, but also of the buildings as well. And again, for some of your projects, that might be extremely useful. And this would be helpful for both coastal investigations as well as the carbon investigations that people may be doing as well. So you can obviously kind of fill around and play around with that to kind of improve the clarity of it. But as I made the point in the video showing you how to create a 2D graph, we need to make sure that we save our map. Okay, please don't just take a screenshot once you're happy with it and then put that into your project. You need to save it. So we click on this button here, click save. And again, this time we're going to name it. So I'm going to name this 3D ArcGIS demo FAD. You can write in a summary if you want to, but that's not essential. And we're just then going to click the Save button. Okay, and that map is now saved. So if we want to come back to it at a later point, change things, adjust it, improve it, or add a secondary layer of data, then we can do that as well.